Let's Just Pretend. Chapter 11. Part 1. Orm had never known silence like this. The mansion, usually humming with laughter, footsteps, clinking dishes, and distant calls from her aunts or cousins, felt frozen. It wasn't really quiet. Her mother was on the phone in the garden, her father in a meeting on the patio, her aunt bickering with the decorator about lilies versus orchids. But to Orm, it was suffocatingly still. Ling wasn't there. That was what mattered. She hadn't slept. Not really. She'd curled up in bed facing the wall Ling used to sleep against, feeling the coldness of the empty space behind her. When she reached out once in the night, forgetting, her hand landed on rumpled sheets instead of warm skin. It was like waking up to grief. Ling hadn't messaged. Not a word since she walked out of the engagement party in silence, her jaw locked, her eyes unreadable for the first time since they were teens. And Orm had let her go. Now, alone in the bedroom that still smelled like Ling, spicy perfume and minty shampoo, Orm wrapped her arms around a pillow and finally let herself admit the one thing she had fought tooth and nail to deny. I love her. The words came out of nowhere, hoarse and trembling, her heart clenched so hard it hurt. She sat up. Her reflection in the full-length mirror across the room startled her, pale face, swollen eyes, hair in a mess. She looked wrecked. Her family tiptoed around her, pretending not to notice, but she saw the pity in their eyes. Everyone knew. Everyone had known before her. Of course they did. They saw how Ling looked at her, how she took care of her, how she stepped between her and the world without being asked. And they saw Orm, snapping at her, teasing her, pretending not to care when she couldn't stop watching Ling out of the corner of her eye. She thought she was protecting something, that keeping it all as just friends would save her from heartbreak. Ling had always been a player, right? Everyone joked about it, even Ling. She never dated seriously, never stuck around. So Orm decided a long time ago that being Ling's best friend was better than being a broken ex. But somewhere along the way, Ling stopped playing, and Orm hadn't noticed, or hadn't let herself. "Stupid," she whispered, burying her face in her hands. "You idiot." She remembered her mother's words. You weren't fooling anyone but yourself. The sting of that truth landed like a slap. How long had she been lying to herself? Was it when Ling touched her waist in front of her grandfather? When she whispered dirty things to her behind her aunt's back? Or was it when she held her hand in the dark and Orm felt her chest squeeze like she couldn't breathe? She thought it was just the act, but it was never fake. Not from Ling. A knock on the door startled her. Her younger cousin peeked in with a bowl of fruit. "You haven't eaten." Orm shook her head, forcing a small smile. "I'm okay." "No, you're not," the kid said bluntly, dropping the bowl on her lap anyway. "You should go get her." And just like that, Orm realized there was still time. She wasn't going to make the same mistake again. She was going to fight for her. She stood up abruptly. Her legs were shaky, her muscles tight from a night of restless tossing, but her mind was finally clear. Ling hadn't blocked her. That meant something, right? Maybe she wasn't ready to talk, but she hadn't shut the door completely. Orm could work with that. She crossed the room to Ling's drawer, the one she hadn't opened since she left. Inside were a few t-shirts, a phone charger, a half-used lip balm. She picked up the lip balm and pressed it to her chest, like it could somehow transfer all her regrets to the space where Ling used to be. "I'm going to get you back," she whispered, "even if it kills me." For once, the idea didn't terrify her. Because losing Ling forever? That would be worse. Let's just pretend. Chapter 11, Part 2. Orm didn't rush. For once, she wanted to do things right. She knew where Ling would be. Her childhood home tucked near the edge of town, the one with the overgrown fence and the noisy parrot that yelled curse words from its porch swing. Ling's mom raised rescue animals, so Orm wasn't surprised to find a muddy paw print on the gate when she arrived. She rang the bell, heart pounding in her throat. The parrot shrieked something that sounded suspiciously like, "Whore!" and she rolled her eyes. "Missed you too, Abu." It was Ling's mother who opened the door. Her warm smile faded a little when she saw Orm. "She's in the back," she said quietly. "She's not great." Orm nodded, her stomach twisting. I'll be gentle." The backyard hadn't changed. Same sagging deck, same tire swings swaying in the breeze. And there, in the grass, surrounded by 3 dogs and a fat cat who clearly didn't want to be included, sat Ling. She was tossing a ball, watching one of the mutts chase it with only half her usual amusement. She looked tired, like the fight had drained something from her. Orm didn't speak. She sat on the step and waited. Ling finally looked up, dark eyes unreadable. "You here to twist the knife a little more?" "No," Orm said softly. "I'm here because I miss you." Ling scoffed. "You made it clear how fake everything was." "I was scared," Orm said. "Not of you, of losing you, because I knew if I ever crossed that line, if I ever touched what we had, I'd never recover from losing it." Ling blinked slowly. "So you thought pretending was safer?" "I thought friendship was the only part of you I could keep, but now I know that keeping you halfway meant losing you completely." One of the dogs climbed into Orm's lap. She stroked its fur absently, gaze steady. "I love you," she said. "I've probably loved you since you chased away that girl in 9th grade who made fun of my laugh. I just didn't admit it until you weren't there." Ling didn't answer. She stood and walked to the far fence, then back again. Finally, she knelt in front of Orm. "Say it again." Orm's voice shook, but she didn't look away. "I love you." Ling cupped her cheek. "You broke my heart." "I know," Orm whispered. "But I'll spend the rest of my life putting it back together, if you let me." Ling leaned in slowly, as if testing the air, like the kiss might shatter something if done too fast. But when their lips met, it wasn't fireworks. It was gravity. Gentle, inevitable, home. They kissed for a long time under the shade of the mango tree, with dogs yipping and Abu squawking "slut" into the wind like a blessing. And finally, Ling pulled back and said, "Let's go home." Orm didn't expect forgiveness in a day. What mattered was being allowed to try. As they walked through the back gate toward Ling's old pickup truck, Ling didn't hold her hand, but she didn't pull away when their fingers brushed. It was something, a beginning. Inside the truck, Abu's voice echoed one more insult from his swing, making Ling smirk for the first time in days. "God, I missed that bird," Orm muttered. "Abu missed you too," Ling replied, half smiling. That was his version of love. They drove in silence most of the way home, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Ling's hand rested near the gear shift. Orm's fingers inched closer. Eventually, they touched. Ling let them stay there. It wasn't a grand reconciliation, but Orm didn't want grand. She wanted real. Let's just pretend. Chapter 11, Part 3. The mansion buzzed with low chatter when they returned. Orm hesitated at the front door, not because she was afraid of walking in with Ling, but because she wasn't sure how to carry herself anymore. Were they still pretending? Did her family expect an explanation? Did she owe them one? But as they stepped into the grand hallway with its high ceilings and ornate floral arrangements, Orm saw something she hadn't expected. Warmth. No awkward glances. No judgment. Just smiles. Her aunt popped out of the kitchen, waving a wooden spoon. "Oh, good! The runaway bride is back." Orm blinked. "You... what?" Her mother stepped around the corner, arms crossed, amused. "Did you really think we didn't know?" Ling arched a brow at Orm. "Told you." Orm flushed. "Wait, how long have you all known?" "Since week 1, her uncle said as he walked by carrying a tray of glasses. "Ploy overheard your conversation on the terrace. She told me, I told your mom, and then it sort of spread." "I told you we shouldn't have whispered," Ling said under her breath, nudging Orm's side. Orm was still processing when her grandmother waddled into the room with her knitting bag. "You children think you're so clever," she said, eyes twinkling, "but love makes you obvious." That was when Orm realized her mistake hadn't been pretending with her family. It had been pretending with herself. She glanced at Ling, who was trying to look smug but failing because her ears were turning pink. "I made such a fool of myself," Orm murmured. "No," her mom said gently, stepping forward to take her hand. "You were scared. But you figured it out, and you didn't let pride get in the way. That's love, Orm. Her father nodded from the dining room, raising his coffee mug like a toast. Ling cleared her throat. So, do I still have a room here? Or was that part of the ruse? Orm looked up, eyes suddenly stinging. You're not just staying here. You're mine. That silenced everyone. For a beat, not a sound was heard. Then her grandfather whooped. There we go! Orm grabbed Ling's hand and tugged her toward the stairs before she could combust from embarrassment. Come on, before they break out the wedding plans again. They ran upstairs, giggling like they were 15 again, both flushed and breathless, and finally, on the same page. Back in Orm's room, she collapsed onto the bed and sighed deeply. Ling hovered near the door, unsure. Orm patted the mattress. Get over here. Ling joined her slowly, shoes kicked off, legs curling beneath her. They lay in silence for a while, facing the ceiling, the buzz of the household muffled behind closed doors. I really thought I lost you, Orm said. You almost did, Ling replied, honest but gentle. That's fair. But, Ling added, turning to face her, you came back. You didn't have to. You could have just let it die quietly and moved on. I could never move on from you. Ling brushed her fingers along Orm's knuckles. You have no idea what it did to me, hearing you say our relationship was fake. I thought I was ready for it. I wasn't. Orm turned her hand over and threaded their fingers together. It was never fake. I just didn't have the courage to tell the truth. Ling leaned in, her forehead resting against Orm's. You're telling it now. Orm smiled. Better late than never? Barely, Ling smirked. But I'll take it. Downstairs, someone was shouting for extra chairs and asking where the champagne flutes went. Orm closed her eyes and let herself exist in this small, still moment where everything was finally starting to feel real. Let's just pretend. Chapter 11, Part 4. Later that afternoon, they sat side by side on the porch swing, Ling nursing a soda, Orm stealing sips and pretending she didn't have her own. The air was thick with midsummer heat, bees buzzing near the potted flowers, distant clinks of silverware and party preparations echoing inside. You know what I still don't get? Orm said, nudging Ling with her shoulder. Why me? Ling glanced at her, eyes steady. Why not you? I mean, you've had options. Orm made a face. Too many. You could have had anyone. Ling looked out at the garden, expression turning thoughtful. Yeah, but they weren't you. That's not an answer. I didn't want a fling, not anymore, not with you, so I never let it happen, not even once. Orm raised a brow. Not even when we shared a bed every night? You have no idea how hard that was, Ling muttered, cheeks pinking. Orm grinned. So, what changed? Ling finally turned to face her fully. You changed. You let me in. For real this time. I didn't want 100 maybes when I could have one you. That made Orm quiet. She toyed with the edge of her shirt, unsure how to put her thoughts into words. I always thought, if I tried something serious with you, I'd ruin it. That you'd lose interest. Go back to one of your flings. Ling reached over and took her hand. You're the only one who made me want more than that. I just didn't think you'd ever see me that way. I always saw you, Orm whispered. That's why it scared me. They sat like that for a while, hands clasped, foreheads nearly touching, silence folding over them like a soft blanket. Then Ling smiled. You know what would really prove you love me? Orm narrowed her eyes. If this is about the last slice of pie, the answer is no. Ling laughed. Nah, I was gonna say, let me pick our engagement party song. Orm groaned. God help us all. Too late, I already chose it. Orm gave her a sidelong look. Dare I ask? Ling wiggled her eyebrows. It's a surprise. Orm sighed. Just promise it's not that cheesy duet you played last month. Ling only grinned wider. No promises. Orm flopped dramatically against her shoulder. I'm going to regret this, aren't I? Probably. But Orm didn't regret anything. Not the lies, not the pretending, not even the fight. Because every step had led them here, where real love had finally taken root. That night, while brushing her teeth beside Ling in the shared ensuite bathroom, Orm caught herself smiling at the way their arms brushed, the comfort of their rhythm. Ling moved to spit, and Orm stole another glance in the mirror, her best friend, now somehow her almost wife, laughing at toothpaste foam. When they got into bed, Orm turned on her side to face Ling. "Do you really think we can do this?" Ling's answer was immediate. "I know we can." Orm hesitated. "Even when I get stubborn and overthink everything." Ling kissed her forehead. "Especially then." They didn't say more. The lamp clicked off, but this time there were no walls between them. Just warmth, steady breathing, and quiet understanding. Before falling asleep, Orm whispered into the dark, "You know, I never said it out loud." Ling turned toward her, voice gentle. "Said what?" "That I love you." The silence stretched just a beat longer than Orm could bear, until Ling's hand reached for hers under the blanket, fingers curling tight. "I know," Ling murmured, "but hearing it still means everything." Orm smiled into the pillow. "Good, because I do. I really, really do." "Good," Ling echoed, "because I'm not going anywhere." And for the first time in a long time, Orm believed her. Let's just pretend. Chapter 11, Part 5. The next morning, the house was already buzzing with activity. Orm stood by the upstairs railing, watching caterers come in and out through the main doors with trays, decorations, and flowers. The engagement party preparations were in full swing, and even though the event had once felt like a silly charade, today it felt like the beginning of something real. She descended the stairs slowly, breathing in the scent of jasmine and rose from the floral arrangements. Her mother was in the dining room barking orders at the decorators, her brother was adjusting his bow tie in a mirror, and her aunt was sneakily eating strawberries from a platter meant for the guests. Everything was chaotic, everything was perfect. Orm spotted Ling in the living room with her shirt half-buttoned, sleeves rolled up as she helped arrange the centerpieces. She looked up at Orm as if sensing her gaze. Their eyes met. Ling grinned. "About time you woke up, fiancé," Ling teased. Orm's heart gave a little jump at the word. "Don't get used to calling me that unless you mean it." Ling crossed the room in 3 easy strides, pulling her close. "I always mean it." Someone coughed dramatically nearby. It was Orm's grandmother. "Don't mind me, carry on." Orm pulled away, blushing. Ling only chuckled. Guests began to arrive in waves, family friends, distant cousins, people Orm hadn't seen in years. She smiled, accepted hugs and compliments, all while keeping one eye on Ling, who moved easily from group to group, charming everyone with practiced grace and that trademark unreadable confidence. Orm couldn't believe she had ever doubted that this woman might not want something real. A family friend leaned in and whispered, "You two look good together, real good." Orm smiled. "Thanks, we are." As the day wore on, Ling finally pulled her aside during a lull. "You ready for the toasts?" "No," Orm said flatly. "Should I be?" Ling smiled and held out her hand. "Just stay by my side. That's all I need." They stepped up onto the patio where everyone had gathered with glasses raised. Orm squeezed Ling's hand. She wasn't pretending anymore. Ling raised her glass. "To Orm," she said, her voice carrying with an effortless confidence that made Orm's stomach flutter. "The girl who pretended to be my fiancé, until it stopped being pretend." The crowd laughed warmly. Orm's cheeks flamed. Ling continued, "She once asked me why I picked her, why I never dated seriously until now. I never answered her." Orm tensed, curious. Ling turned to face her directly. "The answer is simple. I was waiting for someone who made me feel like home." A collective awe rippled through the audience. Orm blinked back the sudden heat in her eyes. Ling leaned in and whispered, "Did I win the toast war?" "You obliterated me," Orm whispered back. Later, as they danced slowly under the garden lights, Orm laid her head on Ling's shoulder. Everything felt like it was exactly as it should be. She was exactly where she belonged. As the night deepened, Orm's mother pulled her aside to fix her hair, and her grandmother handed her a slice of cake with a wink. Orm laughed, looking out over the crowd. Ling was by the gazebo, caught in conversation with one of Orm's aunts, effortlessly holding court with a glass of sparkling cider in hand. She looked over, and when their eyes met, she excused herself and walked straight back to Orm. "You okay?" Ling asked softly. Orm nodded. "Just overwhelmed, but happy." Ling touched her cheek. "Then let's take a minute." They slipped away from the noise, back into the quiet of the house. Ling pulled her close, arms wrapping around her in a slow, grounding hug. "No more pretending," Orm whispered. Ling pressed a kiss to her temple. "Never again." And this time, Orm believed it with her whole heart.